This is DETV's Good Morning Wilmington. I'm Nadj Jea.
And I am J Street, your local plant pusher.
He just got to have something special.
Just something to annoy you, you know what I'm saying? Because even though I am
This is offensive. This is cultural vegan appropriation.
I want everyone to know that I absolutely support anyone's diet. And today I'm showing support for the plant-based community. I'm an omnivore, but I support anyone indulging in a diet that works for them and their lifestyle.
I'm gonna just let y'all know right now. He acting all high and mighty right now. I support the vegans, but in his truck.
No, I don't think you should say
in
vegan.
his truck.
I think, where are you, sir? Dear sir, Ish, where are you? Do we say vegan or are we on a plant-based diet?
He says vegan
Because
proudly.
I don't know. I've heard some people say that like they're, you know what, like we can have a whole conversation about.
You gotta be careful with the plant-based folks.
Like,
they're sensitive.
Listen, because it could be plant. It's the same thing as like, can I call, even as a black person, right? I'll be like, should I? Do I call you black or can I, or is it,
African American?
Or are you Moor, or are you like, there's a whole list, are you indigenous,
It's
my
a
brother?
toss-up.
Are you Afro-Indigenous?
Are you Pan-African?
Are you
or
No, I'm black. Sorry. So
good morning.
We just went
Good
right
morning.
off on the deep end.
Wow.
But
Start your day right.
just pushing plants over here, out in the garden. Yeah, what's happening?
COVID. Hey girl, hey. How you doing? We're still in a panorama. The Panasonic has continued. The Panama Canal is still running rampant. I don't know what else to say. We here. We here. And the Panda Express is going to be with us for a little while. So continue to wear your mask. A report came out that Nemours actually vaccinated its first Delaware teens, around 2,100 of them. They have medical complexity and they are high risk. But this is a what is it? Sign in the right direction. Is that the?
No, yeah, we're going in the right direction with, like,
Yes.
again, you know, we want people who might not get access to the vaccine to have access to it. You know what I mean? And that's a big deal. And you know, on the show we're going to have Mr. AJ Schall actually talk to us about
DEMA.
Yeah, and he's going to let us know kind of where Delaware is in this whole process.
I wonder if, like FEMA, he knows anything about zombies.
He doesn't. I mean, outside of what the normal, you know, most people know about zombies, and that is that they aren't real.
Oh,
you can do your eyes all weird.
Real.
Maybe you're the first one with the eyes becoming, but yeah.
Make sure you guys are signing up for your vaccinations so we can get out of the Pandora's box. Okay?
75% is the goal.
75%
but we'll let
of
Mr. Schall explain
national immunity, the community immunity.
Yep, keep it moving, Pimpin'.
Just be diligent, be safe, be smart. Delaware is on a path of passing the Crown Act. Thank you to Senator Darius Brown and Representative Kendra Johnson and everyone who signed the petition. We're now going to the next steps to make this a law. The Crown Act aims to make illegal the discrimination of natural and protective hairstyles in the workplace and schools. And as a black woman, I can honestly say that this is really beautiful because y'all know I don't play about my hair, okay? And it be braids one day, ponytail another day, purple another day. And I don't want people to judge me based off of my hair. It should be about my character.
But it is like, we had a small conversation about this very briefly before we started filming. And I try to be as aware of what's going on, but I've always had no hair up until the past, like just for 3 years, I started growing out my hair. And I don't have any issues, and I think in large part that's because I'm mainly doing music. I don't have like a formal classroom or office job. But it is as fundamentally racist as you could be that someone can't have their hair to be how their hair is. It's no different than saying you can't, you know, be brown, because if you're brown, most likely, at least if you're brown and of direct African origin, your hair does something that other people's hair doesn't do. And it's no different than like if we were all, you know, say in a country of Africa right now and a group of people from Germany moved in and we were like, hey Germans, you can't have that straight hair. You're gonna have to put on like some kind of a afro wig or something. Otherwise, sorry, we can't hire you.
If I can't put shea butter in it, you got to go.
And it's 2021. Like this, it's like you just rattle that off very. Oh, today this is this is what the news is. But it's like it is so
that we have
fundamentally absurd.
I know.
Like I'll stop there.
I think what I hope from this is not only that it does become a law, but also
how could it not become a law? It shouldn't even have to be a law.
I hope that it inspires women of color, whether you're black or Indian or Asian, to wear your natural hairstyle and be proud of it. Because a lot of the issues that women of color have, is we co-sign to this idea that it has to be the European look. And then we do things and spend money on things that we don't need and to feel beautiful. But the point is, you should feel beautiful as you are, and a job should accept you as you are.
It's such it's like,
I just want to say that was profound.
But it's
I just want to say that because, honey, ain't nobody over here cheering for me, but baby, I'm gonna cheer for myself.
But it's also the biggest duh. Of course. Like,
all right, listen, calm down.
You just got fired up. I'm just
I know, but I'm a woman. Calm down with your baby locks. Like, calm down.
These aren't locks.
Your little baby curls. All of a sudden, he's like, power to the curls.
No, because I have it easy. Because
we know, Jay. We know.
I'm sorry. I will just be quiet. I got nothing. I'm glad that the law is being made, and it shouldn't have to be made in the first place.
Thank
okay.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. All right. Dante Wright, do you want to?
Listen, it's a good thing. It's a step in the right direction, sort of, that the officer has been placed under arrest. She's out on bail.
$100,000 bail.
Yeah, and she's being charged with second-degree manslaughter.
Yeah. The police chief, Tim Gannon, also resigned.
Great. You know, we'll see how the trial pans out. It's for the next year, we're going to be living through trials. You know what I mean?
My gosh,
yeah.
Let me tell you.
That's what's coming up, that's coming down the pipe. You know,
do taxes pay for trials?
I don't know, probably. But either way, you know, it should have never happened in the first place. So I will. I
have to say, so.
I'll be glad when we don't even have to worry about it in the first place.
I know.
And that might not even happen in my lifetime, which is absurd.
Yes.
But go ahead.
I have to say, I'm sending tons of love and support to Dante's mother, who she was on the call with him when he first got stopped. And she was only on the call for a few seconds, and he hung up. And following that, a few minutes later, she FaceTimed, and the passenger of the vehicle that Dante was driving picked it up, and she saw his lifeless body and heard the girl screaming and shouting that he was shot. I can't even imagine what that woman was going through in the least bit. So I just want to send love, so much love, to her and to other mothers who have been, because we heard over the weekend and over the past couple weeks, all these shootings in Wilmington, and I'm just thinking about all the mothers who are losing their sons and their daughters to just these killings that make no sense. So as a mother, I just wanted to put that out there and send my support.
Yeah, it's a uniquely American problem that I believe can be solved. You know, as you stated, it's a different dynamic. You know, when you have people within your community who are killing each other, it's obviously unfortunate. And at the end of the day, I do think that they're all issues that can be fixed.
Yeah.
Some of them involve policy change.
Yeah.
But you know, in terms of the stuff that's happening in the community, that requires a deeper and more comprehensive set of solutions.
And it's continued work.
Oh, yes.
I definitely want to say that, like, it's continued work, because there are people like you and the people we've brought in, Jahidi, that have been a part of active change for our community and trying to save the lives of these young people and older people who are involved in things that are killing them. So continue to work on bettering our community and reach where you can, because it matters. So we're about to go to our interview with Mr. A.J. Schall, and we'll be right back.
Get excited, Delaware. Coming soon is DETV News on Channel 28. It's a look at what's happening in the first state. We'll have news, sports, health, and we'll keep you informed on local entertainment. It's been long enough. I'm Lauren Wilson. Come on, Delaware, let's do this.
Okay, everybody, we are here with Mr. A.J. Schall, who is the director of DEMA, and he's going to basically explain the vaccination process and what's been going on with that in the state of Delaware. So welcome, sir. How are you?
Welcome.
Good. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
We're doing pretty good. I can imagine that you've been extremely busy over the past couple of months.
I would say the last 14 months has been a roller coaster ride, but I've learned a lot, and happy to see that we're on the home stretch here.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So can you take us back to when you first got the call about COVID and what the plan was going to be and how you guys were going to proceed?
So I'll go back. I'll give you the short story because we could spend an hour just on the first few days. So I would say it was probably early January of last year when we first had, kind of some indications that this may be an issue. We had our first statewide call with our partners to start some consequent management planning, third week of January. And then, by middle of February, kind of we're in a full pace of, this has the potential impact to hit the U.S. and hit it big. So I tell people all the time, my job is to, prepare for the worst, but, hope for the best. And, I'm always the one that the glass is always half empty. And I hate to put it that way. It's not my personality, but from a job perspective, it's like, hey, let's get ready. Let's reposition, do what we need to do. So really from about January on to from last year, it's been really a marathon, because it's been one challenge after the other. And, we started talking about this. The governor made it very clear that, he agreed with our initial objectives was really we had to protect the hospitals. The hospitals are kind of the baseline of the community. If they can't serve other people outside of the pandemic, there's going to be a ripple effect. And then so many things since then has happened. We've had to identify certain communities. We've had to do different types of outreach prepare for the vaccinations, different testing, help students get back to school as quickly and as safely as possible. So I'll be honest, I should have taken better notes starting back in January of 2020 to think about all the, really unique things that we've done, because there were some very out of the box ideas that really threw the plan out of place. The state has a pandemic plan, is just like probably every other municipal government, about, hey, what are we going to do? And then, very quickly we were out of options from that plan, right? And that's where I told people from very beginning, our flexibility and imagination is really going to come up with the solutions that help us really serve the citizens, as well as, kind of get us out of the bad days that we have. So it's 14, 15 months, and feels like I just blinked my eyes.
So at what point did the vaccination process kind of even get on your radar? And what were the first couple of steps that you took in rolling that out?
So I'll say the, vaccination, we knew from our federal partners that, what the federal government is referring to as Operation Warp Speed was given, a lot of energy and kind of a lot of horsepower to make sure it got something quickly. So I would say by early summer, when we were seeing, our infection rates go down, we were slowly opening up different parts of the state. Public health, so outside of my shop, really the Division of Public Health really started having, teams work on what's the vaccination plans. We had something similar with H1N1. They do it yearly with the flu shot, but how do we do it as quickly, efficiently as possible, knowing that you're going to get the low-hanging fruit of the people that will show up anywhere, any time of day to get it. And then you have those that are going to get it when it's convenient to them. And then you have the group that's a little bit hesitant or uncertain about it. So you have to make sure you tackle all those three groups. So I would say from summer through, late fall, right before we started getting the vaccine, and after Thanksgiving, a lot of planning going on. This is planning with, our state partners. So Del Dot and the DMVs were huge for our drive-through, still are. Public health was meeting with the hospitals regularly, medical, primary care offices, the clinics, schools that we would possibly have to do vaccinations for. So it was a project inside of a project, if that makes sense, because it's a huge undertaking, as we all know. But I'd say we knew it was going to come. It was just late fall, we had a little breathing room, and we kind of felt like we had some stuff under control. That's when really Dr. Jea and her team really put the muscle behind making sure we identified all these different touch points for individuals, because it's not a one size fits all option. You don't say, hey, everybody come to Dover Downs. That's why we use that. We use pharmacies, we use doctors' offices, we use community groups, the churches as much as we can, and they all have their pros and cons, and you have to make sure you support them in a way where we're getting a layered approach in the community and not leaving one part of it in the dark.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think according to the numbers we have, there are about 200,000 people who have been vaccinated so far in the state. That's a lot of people. And so what is sort of the goal number, and what's the plan for getting to that goal?
So I think the goal number is, and this is, from the doctors, not me, right? So it's,
right.
We want to get, in previous pandemics and everything else, herd immunity, you say, is around the 75% mark. So let's use round number, 750,000 people, where we think we're going to then lower the risk to a good point. Now, granted, every time somebody gets vaccinated, it's lower in the risk, in the weeks after that. So it's all good steps. So if you think about that, we're, let's say, a little less than a third of the way there. A lot of people have one dose, so it's finished in the second. In the last 10 to 14 days, I will tell you, we've seen a slight decrease in demand. And when I say decrease in demand, we're still filling slots, but we're filling them slower than we were 6 months ago. And it goes back to what I said before. Before it was, you could tell people, hey, show up at 5 o'clock in the morning, they're going to be there. They're going to be the first person in line. Now we're still filling them up, but we're sending those invites to a lot more people than we were, a few weeks ago to see it. So that's a few things. People want it convenient to them. There's other options out there, whether it's their pharmacies, their doctor's office, stuff like that. So so the gap is, let's say 500,000 people. Now, remember, we can't do anybody under the age of 16 right now. So, there's part of that number that we can't even touch, but I'm a simple guy, so I like working in round numbers. And it really becomes now, for how do we get over, how do we meet that convenience and that hesitancy that we know is out there? We have talked with partners, and I'll give you a great conversation we had earlier this week was with Walmart. They have pharmacies in all the stores. They supported us with an event at the Chase Center a few weeks ago. We want to kind of, flip it from, hey, everybody has an appointment that goes in their pharmacy now, to, hey, what do they do to maybe do a little outreach in their stores? And, hey, see somebody walk in. Have you guys got your vaccine yet? We have some spots today. Do you have any questions about it? So what does that do? It slows down your speed, right? Because you're not able to book somebody and say, hey, I could book somebody every 15 minutes to make sure I can get them in. But maybe you're getting those people that haven't searched the website, or they haven't called their doctor's offices yet, and you're providing them opportunity. So we know that in the next, so we've seen this decrease in the last 2 weeks. We're getting anywhere from 50 to 75,000 doses a week between state allocation and directly to the pharmacy programs. So in round numbers, let's say, hey, we know we could complete 30,000 people a week, right? So what we want to do is now that we've got some of that low-hanging fruit done, how do the public health teams that go in the community, what do they do? How do we provide them more partners, more muscle to really get in the community and do that outreach? And we've had events at churches, we've had events at schools, just as, sites, not necessarily doing kids yet, but at sites where people feel comfortable going. And it's a lot of those events that are going to get us to really get to that 700,000 number. At the same time, we know the pharmacies are going to be a huge player because there's a pharmacy, just about everywhere. The president's vision about 2 weeks ago was, 90% of people are going to be within 5 miles of a distribution area. Well, that distribution area is going to be a pharmacy. So that's good. But how many, do you have call? Do you go online? In every pharmacy is a little bit different how you do it. So there's not one stop. It's not one website you go to make an appointment. People have to have a little patience or the the dedication to kind of go back. And so that's why we would say, hey, we need to get our boots on the ground. And there's a lot of stuff that Lisa Henry's team and Dr. Ortay's team is doing to get into the communities. And it's not them, it's working with a lot of other partners to help do that education.
Gotcha.
So I read an article that said Nemours has started to vaccine some of the first Delaware teens, around 2,100 of them that were medically complex or were high risk. Do you have any plans to vaccinate any children in the future, like I guess a date or like a plan for when?
I will say we are in the very early stages of talking about high school children. They are eligible with the Pfizer only vaccine. So there's another complexity, right? There's 3 vaccines out there, 2 are getting used now. Only one's approved for 16 and older. It's going to 12, their request is for the 12 to 15 range out there. So we are working closely with, we actually have a meeting today and tomorrow with the Department of Education. What do we do to do outreach in the schools? Because, hey, there's going to be some parents that they're on the phone right away getting an appointment with their doctors, but we also want to make it convenient to them. So I would say stay tuned. It's on one of the things on top of our list, as well as how do we utilize whether it's the clinics in the schools or other partnerships. And Nemours has been a great partner. They want to do everything they can. We know that we also only have it's middle of April right now. We have less than 2 months before a lot of these students go on spring break. If we have a captive audience, let's get them out, right? We know, let's figure out how the process works with parental consent. How many could they do a day when they're there? All this stuff that we're working with the Department of Education and Public Health to help us really capture them, while we know we could get so many of them while they're in school for the next, 6-7 weeks. Or I believe it's almost the summer as I say that.
So one more kind of big question, and you touched upon it already. So at the time, there were 3 options, but it seems like there's only 2 now. So talk to us about what's going on with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine as much as you can. And I know the medical part isn't necessarily your area of expertise, but like from your end, what's going on with that? And just talk to us about that, please.
Yep, no, so happy to, because I think, hey, we woke up the other morning, a lot of news, hey, they're going to do a pause on the vaccine with the blood clot issues that were identified in 6 individuals out of about 6.8 million. So definitely nothing right. Pause. Let's make sure it's the right thing to do. So let me answer this way. How does it impact us? So it impacts us from really a small amount. We are getting maybe about 5,000 doses of Johnson & Johnson a week. We got a little bit more last week, but we also knew our numbers fluctuated. They were going down this week and next week. So as for events, really through the end of next week, no major issue, because we were looking at, small numbers. We're able to, shift those over there. Second part, what's going to happen? What are they looking at? What's coming back? That's a lot. People a lot smarter than me are looking at that data to identify, or confirm, is it safe? I think, this is a strategic pause. Let's dot our I's, cross our T's to make sure we're doing the right thing. So then the third thing that I look at is, how is that going to impact people signing up for it if and when it does come back, right? And that's where, we have to make sure we read the position papers that the CDC and FDA provides. What were their findings? Are they conclusive? Is there a different population that they might allow it for? Hey, if you have this, you can't get this. All this potential that doctors will tell us, not necessarily myself, but at the end of the day, assuming it comes back for us to utilize, we have to be ready, train our staff that works these events to answer these questions, make people feel comfortable. I'll tell you, we see people that have quite, whether it's Johnson, Pfizer, Moderna, they want to talk to the person administering it. They ask questions, and it's great that they kind of know what's going on. They're just not taking it for granted. So we want an educated, like, hey, we want an educated, consumer at the end of the day there that understands what they're having. But we also want to make sure that they know that we're not going to, do anything that isn't safe. That's why as soon as the guidance came out, I guess it was Tuesday morning, it was, hey, let's pause it. It was not mandated. It was, hey, the federal government's going to do this in their sites. It took us 0.2 seconds. Hey, we're doing the same thing. Let's find out who's using it. Tell them we're pausing it as well. So we have to figure out, how do we get the confidence back in that? We know it's going to be probably some more questions, and we will read the data. We will educate our teams to make sure we can answer those questions for those people that are that have those concerns. And I think it's going to probably be a little slow takeoff when it comes back, but I know Dr. Tay and Dr. Hong and Dr. Pescator are, 3 individuals that will do nothing but read those papers, understand the risks, be able to explain to people, and do the right thing for the people of the state of Delaware.
Is there anything else that you want to share with us before we get out of here?
No, I would say just, people that have had the vaccination, they could be our best conduit right now to help their family and their community understand what they went through. How did they sign up? What questions did they have? How did the process go? And I think that's what we need, right? It's going to take a community to get through this. I know there's a lot of people that are they're tired of the ups and downs of the last year and the impacts of it. But thankfully we had science pull us through and get this quickly. And we need to be patient with people, and we need to be able to serve them. And part of that is having the community groups we work with so closely on a number of issues across the year, really be there and make sure we educate these individuals, answer their questions, and encourage them to get vaccinated when they're comfortable too, because we feel that we have safe options out there. We know it's going to help us get back to a new normal as quickly as possible, and we're committed to do what we have to do to get to every corner of the state as quickly as possible.
Well, Mr. Schall, thank you for your time.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you coming.
Anytime. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
And we'll be back in a second, everyone. Everybody, we are here at the Creative Vision Factory with Michael Kalmbach and my neighbor, Mr. Mike Solomon.
Yes, sir.
So let's just start. The thing is, you have a very big story and you are doing a lot of things. So let's just start with telling everyone where we are and what you guys do here.
Yeah. Well, Creative Vision Factory, we are in the 600 block of North Shipley Street in downtown Wilmington. 2021 marks the 10th anniversary year of our program. So 10 years on the block as of this December. And so yeah, 10 years on the block, we've done a lot, we've seen a lot, and especially after coming out of this past year and the year that we're still in, we've really been able to provide a sanctuary for folks, and we've seen a lot of changes over the years here in downtown. But our primary purpose is, we provide a community art studio. We are funded through the state's Division of Substance Abuse and Mental Health. And so we are a peer-run program. Everybody here who's on staff has lived experience of mental health or substance use issues. And our program was born out of a Department of Justice lawsuit against the Delaware Psychiatric Center around about 12 years ago now. The resulting settlement agreement that Governor Markell signed agreed to a whole variety of initiatives making long-term stays at the psychiatric center a thing of the past. And when I say long-term, I'm talking like 10, 15, 20 years with no plan for people to be out into the community. So peer-run mental health centers are a part of this kind of extended social infrastructure for individuals who are looking to connect to the community. And over the past 10 years, we've been able to witness firsthand about how engagement in the arts really expands that network in a way that most behavioral health drop-in centers are not going to be able to really integrate in the same way with a mixed audience across social class and geography here in Wilmington.
So let's keep going right where we're going. Just be direct. How, from your perspective, and I'd love to hear from both of you on this, in your opinion, do the arts impact mental health and recovery? Like, what role can it play in helping people to fix that?
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons why I love having you two here is that we never have to explain ourselves to musicians and artists. Artists get it immediately. So having a place, having a third place, or having maybe a primary place where you can come and be and belong and make is critical for anybody. And individuals who have also been literally and figuratively boxed out of other services or other civic spaces, really need a space where they can regroup, where they can belong, where they can connect with resources, and where they can really feel safe. And I feel like, for me, from my own kind of like peer experience as well, in my early recovery, the fact that I already had an established arts practice, had goals within my own career and within the arts, definitely gave me an edge in early recovery. It definitely gave me things to do. Sometimes early on when you're really trying to take it a day at a time, having a skill that you could literally like maybe obliterate, 5 hours of time
Like
where
just the time
you're just not thinking of yourself, you're thinking about something else. We find that having that is really critically important. And particularly when you're dealing with PTSD and dealing with all the trauma, just being able to have a little zone of mindfulness where you can relax away from the thoughts of the horrific tragedy that just happened, and also move past the dread of the next thing that you're anticipating. And so we constantly see a bunch of people just in a full-blown trauma response all the time, in that constant liminal space between dreading what just happened and fearing what's going to happen next. Having a practice where you can actually settle the mind, get involved with something with your hands, do something can really bring you into the magic of the present moment, of the now. And so we see that as good medicine. And when you get to do that, surrounded by friends and peers, you do it in community, we also can break through this illusion that we're all going about this alone. This is a interconnected, community that we're a part of. And if you're coming out of the pandemic not deeply aware that the health of the least among us is the important metric for us to focus on, then I don't know how much more pain and suffering you have to go through to get that message. So, we see that it's definitely not fluff. This isn't like an add-on fluff that you can do when everything else is taken care of. I think we see that our primary needs are not being addressed. And so, I don't know, we see it all the time. I mean, it's just going through the community, you will not be able to drive by anybody without hearing conversation and music constantly. I think that that's been the real backdrop in this community during this past year.
Over 8 years ago when I was homeless, again, I noticed that the homeless community, everybody has the same routine every morning. We get put out of the shelter, go eat breakfast, go to the library or St. Patrick's or maybe RVRC, which is no longer here. And then come back to the mission, sleep, get up the next morning. This was our routine. If you had to have a mailing address or a phone or computer access, there wasn't many places you could go. This was one of the places that I used for my mailing address through social services. And I came here and it was like the same way. It was you know, just being lost every day.
Right.
And this guy giving me a pencil and a piece of paper telling me what we do here. I didn't care about that. I want my food stamp card, dude. I'm waiting on my mail, you know what I mean?
Right.
So then it came down to, when he introduced me to the art world, it was sort of the same way. You have all of these artists in Wilmington, and they know each other, and they know their circles. Well, when they started closing stuff down with COVID, you have all these people out here with nowhere else to go. So that artwork or that computer that they were on, or the visiting the library to read a book, or when all that shut down, you know, they were back into this lost circle. So it was easy to just go to the liquor store, get a beer, or go down here, bump some change, go get high. You know, you just give up from that pursuit of, okay, well, I was looking for a job last month. Now places are closing down, or, you know, I was looking for housing, and now everything is online, or you have the virtual this and the virtual that. I don't know how to work a computer. You know, I mean, you might have all of these stories coming around.
Right.
And with the art being able to fall back on it, it gave me an outlet to just focus, to stop.
Was this the first time that you got involved with the arts?
Professionally, yes.
Because you know, like I said, you're my neighbor, and I see you walking through with the drums all the time, and I just see you as an artist. Like, that's just how I see you.
I think we have artist senses.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like the idea that you know, got involved with it at just only 8 to 10 years ago is really interesting.
And it blew my mind too, because you know, in high school we used to sketch and draw, paint marijuana leaves on a jacket or something. Well, when Michael introduced me to the art world, it was a thing where he was like, you know, there's Shipley Lofts next door. If you want housing, fill out the application, get 10 to 15 pieces of artwork, show her you're an active artist now, you can get it. You know, I'm like, whoa, I didn't know they had places for artists like that. And then he said, well, you know, you can have your own show, or you could sell artwork. And I'm like, I'm doing this for fun. And it just started evolving. And then the very first mural that he had me on, I was a foreman, was a Kalmar nickel. And I actually, you know, we did the scaffolding building, showed me about the projections and how to, you know, get your ideas together and put them on the wall and mix colors and mix paint, and actually run a crew of 10 to 15 people that are experiencing displacement, or some of them may be, you know, still on drugs and alcohol, or some of them just may be out there just to get a couple dollars, you know, to just help them through the day. And they all came together. You know, they put away their differences. You wouldn't care that the guy next to you didn't take a bath in 3 days, or the other guy's over here, he's sneaking off every 5 minutes to go drink a beer. And everybody knew it, you know, so nobody cared. At the time, we were just on the wall creating something that hopefully the city would love. Hopefully we would be beautifying that neighborhood, and also getting paid, making a couple dollars. You know, so and it grew from there. And my daughter graduated from Sarah Powell Academy. She pitched an idea about a mural in their garden, which is a block, like a city block long. And Michael went down. They just told him about what we do. Came to me and said, "Here, my plate is full. This is your baby." And that was my very first mural that I did on my own. That's when I got serious for me.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I noticed something that you said, both of you said. You talked about community, and you talked about this being a space for people to escape from the trauma and the pain. And what I loved about that was, as an artist in general, we all, you know, like Jay and I, musicians, we need something to escape from, but also the fact that you guys made them aware of the fact that they could make money from it.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, I'm not gonna point any fingers, count themselves out when they should be counting themselves in for the talent that they have.
Yeah.
So just to think about the purpose that you're giving them here as they're drawing and they're painting and they're sculpting, like what does it feel like to be able to see that light bulb go off when you're like, you know, you're talented enough to do this, this, and that, and get that apartment or that car?
Well, you know, I think that, you know, this place is not loosely, it is modeled after every like art room I've ever been in. And, you know, those spaces, you know, when I was a student, those spaces when I was a high school art teacher right after undergrad for a little bit, I knew what they were. I mean, that's where you go to find out like who you are. You know, that's where, these are spaces of becoming. You become yourself in these spaces. And I feel like too, is like thinking about that high school art room. You know, when I was teaching high school art in Virginia, I was only a year removed from a pretty dark place. My first year of being clean and sober, shortly thereafter, I landed a job teaching high school art. And all of a sudden, I'm in charge of 120 kids in an art room with X-Acto knives and all kinds of energy. And being in that space just really made me aware of how important that room was for me. Really, you know, I didn't have the language to question it or think about it, but there was a reason why I was in that room 4 periods a day when I was a senior in high school. At that point in time, I didn't have language to talk about anxiety. I knew that when I made art, I felt better. You know, I knew when I'm like, you know, going through the reps for baseball or hockey that I felt better. You know, but I didn't understand that this was having a physiological impact on me, and there's a reason why I was trying to do as much as I could, as often as I could. One of the real blessings of my early recovery was also kind of presenting me some time and space to pursue those original goals. Yeah. You know, I didn't see myself as being, you know, a dropout addicted to drugs and not producing anything. You know, I always saw myself as an artist who was going to create and produce and make work no matter what. That said, though, too, you know, organizing and throwing parties and making spaces for my friends is also a part of the culture. You know, yeah. You bring it up, you bring everybody along with you. You're having fun. You know, a lot of the exhibitions and the artwork when I first started doing shows in Wilmington wasn't to like gain a critical audience. You know, it was to like show my friends what we're working on. Yeah. And you know, being able to make that tent even bigger was the coolest thing about this place. You know, when I was first working at the Delaware College of Art and Design, organizing shows in the vacant storefront properties owned by BPG when I was working at DCAD, those spaces and that activity was about bringing friends together. We weren't concerned about an audience because there wasn't an audience. You know, I remember evenings we'd be on Market Street, you just wouldn't see a soul past 6 o'clock. Yeah. You know, so when we were putting on shows in the space that's now LaFia, we did whatever we wanted to do. There's nobody else there, and it was, you know, it was fun. But I also remember early on during those shows, we had we're setting up a show one night, and a little kid came to like see what we were doing. So we allowed her in and were showing her and her friends all this stuff. And you know, all of our shows would only be open on First Friday. And so I'm working at the college at the time, and I'm rushing to our opening late. And we just told these kids the night before, hey, come to our show. You know, we'll have soda, we'll have drinks. You know, bring your friends and family. When I arrived at the show, one of our artists was telling these kids to get out of the space. And I had to lecture this guy. I had to pull him aside and be like, hey, you don't live here. Right. You know, like, you know, so also know that, you know, they might go get their older brother and come here and show you who lives here. You know? And so I had to introduce this guy to this concept called hangoutology. David Amram, jazz musician, Lower East Side, early 70s. There's an essay that I read when I was in graduate school, and he was talking about what made the Lower East Side the Lower East Side. And he said that it was the only place that artists could still afford to live. And because it was affordable, you also had a lot of adolescent neighbors in that neighborhood. And if you did not want to get your bike stolen, or if you did not want to be a victim of petty crime, you best hang out. Yeah. You best get to know everybody, share forums, make art together, make music together. And when I heard that, you know, that hangoutology idea and concept just really, you know, kind of became a little kernel in my head. Here at the Creative Vision Factory, when we're hanging out productively, we're getting to understand and know people deeply. Yeah. We're getting to understand just, you know, what somebody experiences when they experience homelessness in the city of Wilmington. What is the experience of somebody who finds themselves addicted to heroin in Delaware? What is the experience of somebody who's outside and has been a victim of every harm imaginable and still can yet to find services that are going to be able to click with them and the trauma that they've experienced? So, you know, we've been here for 10 years, and it's been 10 years of really bearing witness to a ton of pain, a ton of alienation. But at the same time, that's the stuff that we transform. You know, that is where, you know, the work comes from. That's what brings us together, and that's what gives us the sense of urgency. And so, really getting to know one another and hanging out is where we're going to be able to find, where is our common humanity? Where is this dignity? And oftentimes, if somebody is, addicted to drugs or has a, mental health diagnosis, we strip them of that dignity. We do not give them the dignity of risk. We do not give them the experience. And it's, look around. Is what we're doing working? Yeah. And so that's the big prevailing question that I have after 10 years. And being in such close proximity, we got some ideas. And it's, pursuing that and really centering the needs of the individual is what's going to get us out of this, not the other way.
Yeah. Talk to us briefly, or as much as you need to, about some of the actual artists who have created here. Yeah, because you've had some significant kind of exhibitions, and talk about that, please.
Well, it's like right before the pandemic hit, I had my neighbor, Nancy Josephson, and another supporter of ours, Dr. Ann Bowler, trying to convince me that it was really necessary for me to go up to the Outsider Art Fair in New York City to join our artist, Geraldo Gonzalez, who was featured by Kolsch Gallery out of Houston at the biggest outsider art show on the planet. If you would have asked me when we opened up, what success looks like, I would say one of our artists would be at the Outsider Art Fair and written about in Raw Vision magazine. Well, at the beginning of last January, all that stuff was coming true, but you couldn't tell me that because I was convinced that I needed to be here, that I couldn't afford to leave and be in New York for a day with Geraldo and come back. I couldn't even see it. But the safety and the friendships of Nancy and Ann were able to see that I was in a trauma response. I always joke with people that this is our 10-year anniversary, and I'm celebrating by officially picking up a PTSD diagnosis. And so, learning about these things has been really a real gift because I can share my wellness, my healing with others. But at that moment last year, everything we were ever working for was happening, and I couldn't get past the drama of this block. And so Geraldo Gonzalez, a lot of people know him. He is this really gregarious guy. He's around town with a big camera all the time, taking pictures of public transit vehicles. Yep. And so he lives in Cool Spring. He's neighbors with some friends of mine. A neighbor in particular, Ellen Priest, knew what I was about to start at the Creative Vision Factory, knew Geraldo's neighbors with Geraldo, and told him, to come see me one day. And, when I first met him, he told me about all these rejections that he was getting, submitting work to places, nobody would return a call, nobody would talk to him. And when he showed me his portfolio, I was just stunned by the magnitude of hundreds of these Technicolor public transit drawings. And I made him a promise right there. I said, you hang with us, we're going to get you in all these places. And so he's not only been in all these places, he's been in the USA Today, he's, at the Outsider Art Fair. He and Nakoma Frederick, one of our artists who's a Division of the Arts Fellowship winner, were curated an exhibition in Melbourne, Australia right before the pandemic. They've shown at Fleischer Ullman Gallery in Philadelphia multiple times. Fleischer Ullman Gallery is one of the, if not the most prestigious blue chip outsider art gallery, not in the United States, on the planet Earth.
So basically what you're saying is, you make stars.
Well, it's all we do is we just shine the light on people. We shined the light on people and gave them an infrastructure to do their thing, gave them space, and gave them space, and then also gave them, tolerance to see past all this other stuff that maybe, maybe you're not going to play well in another community space.
Yeah, because he did the same thing with me when he said self-direction. It's like, give me a pencil and piece of paper and do what? I'm ready to go to the liquor store, man, to go get me a beer. I'm serious. And I came in here one day and he says to me, listen, something happened, it was snowing or something, and I really needed some help. And he said, listen, you can come here, but I don't want you to come here like that anymore. I don't want you to be intoxicated. I like you, I got a soft spot in my heart for you. And I didn't really know the full meaning of that, so I'm thinking, perfect sponsor. And he's like, no. He had learned a little bit about me, so he's like, no, take care of your problem, and everything. actually goes to court with me. I was court stipulated here 77 community hours. The judge was like, loving his work, and they had already heard about the Creative Vision Factory. And it really did, it changed my life. Who would think that I would have the house that I got now, or the job that I have now. And being a peer, we get a chance to see somebody that might come in that isn't allowed in Dunkin' Donuts or can't sit in Starbucks and can come here and get a hug, cup of coffee, get a cup of soup or something. Might not even be an artist. Just know that you have somewhere that somebody understands what you're going through. If you see somebody walking down the street, stomping the ground or punching at the air, because I've been approached by different people in downtown Visions and the police department. Hey, do you know this guy? Is this one of yours? And I'm like, wait a minute. Now, why all of a sudden they become one of mine? Even though they are, right? They don't know that.
Right.
And
No.
so,
Yep.
exactly. So then it got to the point where, we were able to reach out to people and to, show them a different direction. Maybe give them some, a glimpse of what it looks like from sleeping in a park to getting your own apartment.
But doesn't that also sort of prove as a testimony the value of what you guys are doing?
Yes,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
And all through art. Well, mine particularly through a paintbrush.
Right.
Where some people get into the mosaic part, some people get into the clay, Some people, we've even, like when I bring my instruments in, we've had people record their own videos. We had studio time at our Germain Drive before, where, these guys could get studio time, and they actually produce their own videos. So, different things, different people. We had a poetry group come through every Wednesday, where people that you didn't even know write would come in and read their poetry. So it opened up a lot of doors for a lot of different people.
You're giving people the room to be seen and to be heard and acknowledged.
And self-directed. Nobody's
like humans.
standing over you. Yeah, not you got to do this and you got to do that. None of that.
Let me just touch two quick things, because there's actually, we could probably talk to you for like 3 hours, to be honest. But, shout out the coffee if you can really, really quickly. Yeah. Because this is kind of a big deal too.
Yes.
Yeah, so Brandywine Coffee Roasters has selected us for their new Coffee for a Cause initiative. And, I think it's, talking to the artist Todd Purse, who's in charge of this program with Brandywine Coffee Roasters, he's a 2006 graduate of DCAD. And again, I never have to explain our mission to an artist.
Right.
You know,
But if I buy that coffee, what happens?
So all of the sales for this coffee come back to the Creative Vision Factory. So this is going to run for at least a quarter. And so throughout all of our activities this summer at the Winter Tour Museum and in town and at Duffy's Hope Garden, this coffee sale will be going on.
So you know what I'll be drinking for the
and,
next, you know what I mean?
And then too, the cool thing about this then too is that I feel like, they really resonated on the social infrastructure side of this as well, because the coffee shops have always been a place where you can duck into. And, we have a lot of our guys that would often, find sanctuary and shelter at the brouhahas. And so to be able to have this coffee bag is really cool. Amazing things can happen when you're caffeinated with friends in a studio.
Listen.
Boom, change the world.
All right. Is there anything else that you want to make sure that you get out there before we wrap it up?
We keep in mind Nakoma Frederick, one of our artists, he is a 2021 Delaware Division of the Arts Fellowship recipient. Unfortunately, his exhibition last year was heavily hampered due to COVID. Thanks to the University of Delaware's Partnership for Arts and Culture, we have this great color catalog of his whole show. It includes essays from yours truly, Dr. Yasser Payne, and Dr. Ann Bowler. Really important document here. I really feel like this is basically, this tells our story of our 10-year history, but there's just so much more that's possible. And I really am looking forward to finally us thinking through some innovations in public housing, in permanent supportive housing, in building out a social infrastructure that works for all Wilmingtonians.
Yep.
It's exciting.
This is why he has been given the honor by the News Journal as being one of our most influential people. So, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Mr. Mike, for being my neighbor. Thank you for everything you guys are doing.
We know people in high places.
Oh, hold up. Can I say one thing? If you're thinking about being an artist, do what this guy told me. Pick up the pencil and a piece of paper, put it on the paper, actually do something about it. You don't just talk about it, we actually do it. So if you want to, even if you're a writer,
Be about it.
Yep, be about it. Just actually pick the pencil and piece of paper up and start sketching. And it works.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks again, Michael Kalmbach, for showing us your great work and your really cool space. So, tomorrow's a big day for some people.
420.
What you doing for 420 there, Nadj?
Wow, Jay.
Yeah. If it's recreational, HIPAA doesn't count.
I'm going to be working in my garden, weather permitting.
Oh, well, your garden. What kind of garden you got there on 420 there, huh? What kind of garden you got?
Where I'm growing a bunch of greens.
Don't tell on yourself now.
Leafy greens.
Okay, leafy greens. Get that good kale.
Just be safe and be smart, friends, because it ain't legalized in the Delaware. So just be smart.
Yeah, leave it at that.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay, fine.
Nope.
Yep, okay.
There's an article in the News Journal about dating during a pandemic.
Yeah, something we
And-
know absolutely nothing about.
Now, I
So
don't know
we're
about
here-
you, but I date my husband. So me and Jay actually had a very interesting conversation about this because, yes, we've been out of the dating game for
Ever.
you
have
longer
no
than
idea.
me. So me and Ishmael have been together a long time, and him even longer.
Ever.
The one thing that I remember when me and Ishmael really started dating, we had like Instagram and Facebook, but like Tinder and Plenty of Fish and all those, I'd never had a profile because there was no pandemic. So I was out meeting people. And I've always been lucky enough to kind of have people recommended. And so I meet people. But now with the panorama, dating has been very odd. In the article, it talks about people doing Zoom dates where they eat the same food
Okay.
and they watch the same movie
Okay.
via Zoom.
Okay.
And now that people are getting vaccinated, they're meeting up,
Okay.
which some people are willing to do, some aren't. But either way, I'm sure it's very odd.
I'm sure it's very odd also depending upon how seriously you're taking the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know?
And dating, because the other thing is, if you're just trying to fling it up.
I'm sure Texas has been dating the exact same way as though nothing, not all about, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's so dependent on those kinds of things. Like, I mean, I've seen people post their dating experiences. I remember seeing a female post that, her and her potential suitor had both gotten their tests to make sure they were negative and were about to go on their date. And, that was cute.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I feel, I couldn't feel less qualified to talk about what it is to date now. There's a generational gap. There's now a COVID gap. I'm in a completely different
That's
stage
right,
of life.
because when you were dating, y'all still had horse and buggy.
Yep, we had horse and buggies.
Wow. But happy dating. Thank you guys for watching. We love you.
We will see you.
Have a wonderful week.
See you Wednesday.